Hey, have you seen this?
I have. Oh yeah.
Hey, now.
Have I?
This is the real version.
This isn't the real version?
Yeah, we should talk about this. You can get it in 2 flavors.
Yep.
See, this
Vertical.
this is the European
and
version.
Horizontal.
That's the European version. That's what we're selling from Amazon.
I like my version. I like my horizontal version.
You mean the landscape design?
The landscape design.
And that's the portrait. This one here, that's the portrait.
I like landscape.
And if I told you 40 years ago this was your telephone and your Bible, would you have believed me?
No.
Think about that.
Well, think about this.
And if I told you this was a Coca-Cola, would you believe me?
No, not at all. You ever think about all of the things that are inside of this? Like 40 years ago, obviously a lot of it didn't exist, but if you could stack it up, you'd need a semi to hold all the things that this thing does.
That's true, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Adrian's popping in right now, by the way.
Hey, guess where I'm going Monday?
Where are you going Monday?
Wrigley.
I'm jealous.
Adrian!
Which way should I?
Adrian, I'm Tim. It's an honor to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Tim.
Thank you.
I should have done what you've done years and years ago. But my wife...
What's that?
Shaved my head.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
She says I look like a cancer patient.
You don't look like a cancer patient.
You know what's really...
By the way. You don't.
Thank you.
Adrian, you know what's funny about that is I am a cancer patient. I'm the one with the hair.
Yeah, that's right.
You got great hair.
Everywhere. You even got hair on your chin.
Oh, God damn it.
We're not on the air yet, are we?
But I have no knees.
Not yet. We're gonna edit this up, so it's all good.
Let's get rocking.
Danny Z.
Hi, Belew.
How are you?
I'm good.
Sorry I missed you last time you were around.
Yeah, we almost did it, but it was probably better that we didn't since we were all drunk. Or something.
Get centered on this screen here. How about this?
Other way. Yeah, it's kind of the opposite. It's weird.
Yes, it is.
It's
I'm
really
used to doing things backwards for the most part. My whole musical life has gone backwards. You know what I'm saying?
I would argue with you on that, but that's just an outsider's perspective.
I'm glad that we're doing this because I've not done one yet, and I've got to figure this out. Like,
you got to go the other way.
Head in the picture first of all.
Yeah, Adrian, where are you today?
What's that?
He's in
where are you today?
Smashville.
Oh,
I'm
nice,
in Mount Juliet, north side of Nashville.
Yep, beautiful.
And I'm in the master bedroom, which I'm repainting. So there's all kinds of stuff in this room. If I turn the camera around the other way, it would be a horror show. But this is my new bookcase that I just painted.
Looks great.
So you have somebody come in there and paint for you, or you do?
No, I paint. I like to paint.
Nice.
I like painting interiors.
When you're out here next time, let's schedule an extra day. I could use a little help around here.
Yeah, I'm actually really good at it, Danny. Seriously, and I really enjoy doing it. I've painted my entire house. Now I'm going on the second time.
No kidding.
Just the interior.
You know, I like a man of many talents. Tim, are we on?
We're on.
Now that's different. I've been teaching myself digital painting, and I've been doing some really fine looking work.
You know, I'd like to see that. Do you know who else is doing that? Is Bobby Weir.
I think a lot of musicians would be happy doing it because it's really the same stuff, you know, up here. You're using the same kind of circuitry.
Yeah.
Well, I've gotten so into it now. I've done 127 paintings.
So when you do a digital painting, I mean, it's like you're not using a brush; you're using your computer keyboard.
Oh, you use an Apple. I use an Apple Pencil.
And
an iPad, and it's beautiful stuff. I will send you some after this. I'll send you some. There it is. I'll send you some examples. But everything I do is different because I'm just figuring it out and learning it as I go. So I'm not trying to make anything look the same anyway. So it's really fun. So my next album, which I'm going to have out really soon. It's in mixing stage. We'll have 5 more paintings of mine, but this time they'll be digital.
Oh, that's fun.
Do you mind if we share a couple on the screen in post after we edit this?
How would we do that? You tell me and I'll do it.
Oh, yeah. Our girl would just drop a couple of them in while the interview's going on. She's going to chop it up.
Okay. Yeah.
You know,
if you want photos here.
Awesome.
If you send me a couple of photos of them, we can just fly them in while we're talking.
Okay.
And that'd be a fun way to help you promote it too.
Okay, back with the glasses now.
That's okay.
We do. And where do I send it? To you, Danny?
Yeah.
Okay, here you go. I'm going to send you a couple of pictures real quick. All right. Let me pick one. Let's see. Let's start. My fans will know this because I already put this one up yet. Here you go.
Yeah, do the ones that are already out there.
Yeah, you're going to like this one, Danny. People say it's a zebra, but it's actually not. It's a rhinoceros. So I'm going to send you that one. And
you're especially close to those rhinos.
Yeah, I really am. I've actually been to a rhino place backstage, where they take you. It was really, really amazing. The rhino was standing there with me. I was this close to it. And it was just amazing.
And he was cool.
This woman knew that I was into rhinos, so she worked at the Nashville Zoo, and she said, "Here, you can come back anytime you want." And I took everybody out there. Hey, I'll just do 3. There's 3. The first one is not so colorful because it's a rhino, and I wanted it to be kind of grayish.
Oh, here it is. Oh, nice.
Second one is
here. Hold on. The third one came through first. The blue and black one.
Yeah.
Okay, so
what the hell that is.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. It kind of looks like maybe a nice sock, kind of coming down the leg.
I think it's a helmet, a space helmet, some sort of weird space helmet on.
Hold it a little closer. Ooh, I like that. Oh no, yeah, there you go. That's really cool.
It is weird doing this. Hold on. There we go. And then it's so weird. If I go too close, you can't see the colors. Anyway, let me see what. Okay, this other one, this first one is taking like hours to download.
It's got a lot of stuff in
it. Did you?
I do some real simple ones as well, but I'm just sent you some of the more complex ones. But I use a program called Procreate, as I said, with an iPad and an iPencil, and I just have gone to it like a duck to water. And I'm not usually good with technology like this. It's just I keep trying things and then I turn them into stuff. That's the way I learned to play guitar. Same thing. So I guess it's working on both parts.
Adrian, you don't read music, right?
No, I do not.
So, Tim, funny story. This is going to tie in very nicely here. Some years ago, I was invited by Frank Zappa to audition for the Mothers, way before I met Adrian. And it was only on Ruth and Ian Underwood's word that he was going to give me this audition, but they had never heard me play because I can't play. But I wanted to sing for the Mothers, and in 1972-73, they were creating Overnight Sensation, which was, I think, probably the perfect bridge of a commercial Zappa and a freaky Zappa. He made freaky songs into pop songs.
He did.
And on that album, because of this meeting, I was memorialized on the record because Ruth and Ian got me an audition at Ike Turner's Secret Sound Studios in Studio City, California. So I went there to sing, not to play, but Ruth thought I played guitar. I don't know why. So I went there to audition, and Frank comes out of the booth. He's holding the SG. He's ready to walk me in, and by now my name's Pony, Tim, because that's how Ruth introduced me. And we're walking back to the room, and he goes, "You can read, can't you?" "No." He goes, stop right there. He goes, you could be the greatest singer in the world, and I don't want to know about it because I'm going to have to teach you every single part on every single song, and I don't want to deal with it. I don't hire people who can't read anymore. I told you this story some years ago, and you said, I can't read.
It's very rare, I've been told that,
But you play guitar.
No one got in his band who couldn't read.
Yeah, well, and that's I guess
he told me he sent me 12 songs from different records to learn. He said, just figure them out to sing and play any way you can, the best you can. And that's, since you can't read, that's what you'll do. And then when I got there and I won the audition, there were 55 guitar players who had auditioned. That's what he told me. He said, well, what we'll do is we rehearse 5 days a week. And on the weekends, Friday night, you'll go home with me and I'll teach you things that's coming up the next week. You can start learning them by rote. So that's how it went for me. I ended up learning 5 hours of his songs in 3 months' time. I lived Frank Zappa 24/7.
So let me ask you something. Of those 12 songs that he originally sent, do you remember any of them?
Andy was one of them. Wind Up Working in a Gas Station was one of them. I probably know some more. I've got them written down somewhere. Are we online? Are we online yet?
We're doing it, babe.
Oh yeah,
this is us. This is what we do. This is how it goes, baby.
We just sit around and talk.
We're just bullshitting.
Okay.
You can say that too. Yeah, look, a lot of people are doing these things now, but not all of them have written books lately, or not all of them put on 10,000 shows, and not all of them have had a 50-year, 40-year career like you have with all those no names you played with.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what they ask me when they want to know about the book? They want to know who my favorite is and who the worst was and all that. And so I'm not going to ask you that because I already know the answers to the question. But for the people out there in radio land, people in podcast land listening to this, what was your favorite band that you played in?
Probably the 1981 through 84 King Crimson was my favorite. It was also the hardest for me for a lot of reasons. But it was the first time that I was ever put in the driver's seat, so to speak. I'm the front man. I'm the guitarist. I'm the singer. I'm the songwriter. I'm the lyricist. Here you go, buddy. I hope you can do this because you're in King Crimson, a band that a lot is expected of. And so, that I came through all that and did okay, I think. Those records are good. That was a great experience. Of course, the fact that it kept coming back, it made it a 33-year-long experience.
Wow.
So that's pretty interesting to be in the same band for 33 years. I feel like I should get an award.
Well, definitely for that band, because how many people made it 33 months?
That's what I'm saying. There were some hardships in the band, but I got along real well most of the time. I loved it.
It seems like, anything that's great, worth being a part of or worth having or worth doing, none of those are ever easy. Because if they were, everybody else would be doing it.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's a chemistry thing. And Robert, when he picked the chemistry, when he picked the different components, I think he did a really good job. And it put the right people together. At the time when that band was touring around the world, Robert once said to me, "This is the best live band in the world." And I kind of said, yeah, I don't think of anybody else who can do what we're doing. And over the years now, it's been, 40 years, I've had probably 1 million musicians tell me that was the band that changed their life.
Yeah.
That's a good feeling.
How
the Beatles, and my second favorite band was King Crimson, so I made it to my second favorite.
Yeah, the first one would have been hard to join, but yeah. So Discipline was the first record, right?
Right.
And Three of a Perfect Pair.
That was the third record.
That was the third one. And in between, we had
Beat.
It was like those three were like a trilogy.
That's what it was. Yeah, we even used the 3 different colors, and it was designed that we would go and play 3 world tours and make 3 records in 3 years. It took maybe 4 in the end. But I thought, okay, by the end of the 3rd record, I thought, well, we're really starting to get hot here. Let's go, And then Robert said, bye. Kind of weird.
Understanding and explaining all that is something people have tried and failed to do for a long time.
That's not worth doing anyway. We have the music.
Boy, do we ever.
We have the music.
Here's something else. I've never asked you this. And I know the story is well documented, but I've refrained from reading it because I always wanted to ask you myself. How and why did that Bowie thing come about?
How the Bowie thing came about is it's a story I've told many times, and I pretty much tell it exactly the same. So here goes. With Frank Zappa, we were playing in Germany, and we played in Cologne. And I didn't know it, but in the audience, Brian Eno was present. And Brian Eno knew that David Bowie was about to start a new tour and wanted to get a fresh guitar player. So he called David, I guess the next day, and said, you should go see Frank Zappa, see his guitar player. I think a day or so later, we played in Berlin, and I believe that David was actually living there at the time.
Right.
So David was at the concert. Of course, I didn't know that. There was always a break in the concert where Frank would play a long, extended jam guitar solo with just Terry Bozzio on drums and Patrick O'Hearn on bass, and all the other musicians were expected to leave the stage. I would go get myself a Coke with lots of ice. That's why I'm driving a truck for Coca-Cola, by the way, now. So anyway, I started leaving the stage, and I looked over here, and oh my God, that's David Bowie and Iggy Pop too, standing there together. And I'm like, well, what do you do here? I've got to say something. I'm like, I know his work, So I walked over and shook his hand and said, I just want to tell you how much I've loved your work and congratulations on what you've done. And he says, well, great. How'd you like to be in my band? So I pointed to Frank, who was out in the middle of the stage playing a guitar solo. I said, well, I'm kind of working with that guy right now. And David said, yes, I know all about that. And he said, but your tour ends in 2 weeks. And 2 weeks later, my rehearsals start. So can we talk about it after the show? We go to dinner. And I said, sure, thanks. Okay, we'll meet you at the hotel. So this is exciting as hell to me. I'm meeting David Bowie and going to dinner with him all of a sudden. And I went back to the hotel, a big lobby with lots of trees and things in it, kind of lobby. And over in the corner on a little sofa was David and Coco, his assistant. And I started walking over to them, and they said, shh, listen, go up to your room for a couple of minutes and come back down. We will be outside in the car. We have a car. And okay. I said, oh, wow, okay. So that's what I did. And I was thinking, wow, this is like a spy film. I love this. This is great, James Bond kind of thing. So I come back down. Sure enough, I go outside, and this chauffeur, who I later got to be friends with, Tony, opens the back door. I get in a black limousine. We drive off, and David just launched into how happy he was and the songs we were going to do and what I could do and da-da-da-da, really cheerful about it all. And I said, I'm going to take you to my favorite restaurants. Okay. So I always insert this right here in the story. How many restaurants are in Berlin? 30,000? 25,000? Okay, so we drove to the restaurant. We got out of the car. We walked up the steps. We walked in, and right there in the first table was Frank Zappa and the rest of the band.
Are you serious?
All of them sitting there. Some of the crew were even there. I talked to a guy 30 years later, said, I was there that night. And so we said, okay.
Did you get to look?
We sat down. Oh my God, I felt this big. I wanted to be that big. I wanted to be out of that room immediately. But what happened is David and I sat down, and Frank David started to try a conversation. He said, David, it's quite a guitar player you got here. And Frank said, fuck you, Captain Tom. Fuck you, Captain Tom. And I'm thinking, oh my God, he's already demoted him from major to captain. Gee whiz, he's doing that already. And David kept it going. David says, well, David said, come on, we should be men we can talk about this, can't we? And Frank, fuck you, Captain Tom. Not a word. Then the next thing is David says, well, so you don't have anything to say to me or anything.
Fuck you, Captain Tom.
Fuck you, Captain Tom. We got up, we left, we walked down the stairs to the limo, and David looked at me and said, I thought that went rather nicely.
What was Frank thinking you were going to do after that 2 weeks was over?
Okay, he had already informed the band that he was taking 4 months off to edit the film that would become Baby Snakes. A lot of people don't know this part of the story. They think I just flew away from Frank. So a few days later on the bus, I went to Frank and I said, Frank, you told me that you're taking 4 months off and you'll pay me a retainer. So I'm just going to sit around and take your money and do nothing and wait for you to be ready for me to play again, right? He said, yeah. I said, or David Bowie has made me an offer to play with him for 4 months. I could do that, and then I could come back to you. And I'll leave it completely up to you, whatever you think. What do you think? And he said, yeah, I think you should go and do that. And we had a handshake on it, and I left. His band after the tour, thinking that that's what I was going to do.
I was waiting for him to say, fuck you, Captain Adrian.
Private Adrian.
Private Adrian. I would be all the way at the bottom. Private underclass or whatever. So anyway, the long story is that, naturally we started out on the David Bowie tour, and I eventually found out that Frank did not do his plan. He fired the whole band. Couldn't fire me. I was already out of it. And started over with a new band and went back on tour. So when I came back from the Bowie thing, he was already gone. And then David Bowie was saying, well, by the way, we're going to tour the world now. So it's not going to be 4 months. It's going to be a year and a half. So there you go. Didn't leave Frank Zappa thinking that I'd never be in his band again. I loved Frank.
So in other words, you could say that you're still waiting for a call from Frank to pick it up.
I think eventually we'll see each other face to face, and then I can show him some guitar tricks I've learned since,
Yeah, nice.
I love that. Now, let's talk about the important stuff.
Frank Zappa and David Bowie are not important enough?
Screw them.
Yeah, all right.
Let's talk about your new album.
Yeah, wow.
What's happening there?
Well, okay,
you make great albums. Let me say that for anybody. I mean, most people that are watching this know who you are already, but couple people might be here because they want to see Tim Richards. They're big fans of Tim.
Well, folks are looking at him right now, and he's a handsome fellow.
Right, look at him.
You can wear headphones and look good in them. I can't even do that.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Look at those choppers, buddy.
Oh, I know.
Look.
I wanted to ask you, do you use that the electric toothbrush thing? Because I've just got one for Christmas. It's made my teeth a lot better. I've been doing my eyes with it, too. I can see better now. Anyway.
You're the best.
So I can see clearly now.
You and Johnny Nash?
I really got a lot to say about it, but I'll try to make it short. First of all, it's the 25th solo record I've made. And I do a lot of times feel like most people don't know my solo music. And it's probably, to me, it's the best thing I do, to me. But I'm partial to it. It's my favorite thing to do, whether people know it or not. So COVID came, right? And I had plans to play festivals and go to South America. We had a whole year planned. Out the window. For a long time, it was, what do you do now? What do you do? And everybody was staying at home. I couldn't record a note because my engineer couldn't come over. He was 8 minutes away from me. Can you come over and record? No. No, we can't record.
Yeah.
His wife actually has a heart problem called pericarditis. So she's in she's in that place, even though she's young, where she has got to be really careful, and they have two young kids. Finally, I just started writing every day in my chair in the bedroom with my acoustic guitar. And eventually in May, I got the call from Miles, my engineer, who said, I think I can come over now. We'll do social distancing. You stay out in the recording room. I'll stay in the engineering room, and we'll both wear masks, and we should start. And I said, great, because I got almost 12 songs right now. Actually, I had 20 songs at that point. I've got 20 songs now. And so we started in, and as I've done on almost all of my solo records, I think there might be 6 out of 25 that I have used other musicians. But mostly I play everything and do everything. That's the way I enjoy doing it, because I can do that, and I enjoy that challenge. Then I think it gives people a more personalized version of what I'm hearing in here when I write this stuff. So I started in, and man, I just had a ball doing it. I was practicing drums and doing things I never really. Normally I just work out a part and throw it down, but this time I really took my time. I think I did better playing, better bass playing. The songs are better. There's a couple of songs on there that I'm really, really proud of, actually, that I think are going to be very nice songs in the long term. That there's something I can just play on the guitar for you, and you say, "Wow, it's a nice song, beautiful melody." Anyway, so we're in the mixing stage now, and the same thing is still occurring. A similar thing. Miles is mixing at his studio 8 minutes away, sending them the mixes to me, and then I'm critiquing them and putting in my comments and saying, why don't we do this, or we could do that. But telling you the truth, he's doing some fabulous mixes, so there's not a whole lot to say. We have 3 left. Meanwhile, I've been working on the digital artwork. Over the COVID period, that's what I did. I taught myself to do digital art, and that's been really great. So I've already done over 100 digital paintings. 5 or 6 of them will be in the package. So I've got the package designed. I've almost got the record mixed. The last final stage is pretty quick, and that's called mastering, if you don't know. And it's ready. It's going to be called Elevator because I thought about the Beatles record, my favorite Beatles record, Revolver. And they asked the Beatles, why'd you name it Revolver? And they said, because it revolves. And I thought, well, I'm going to call mine Elevator because I wanted to elevate people. I hope that this is an uplifting record for people because I tried to make it that. I didn't dwell on the bad stuff that we're going through, all of us, and the horrors that we've been through, because I thought, no, when this is over, I want people to be singing my songs and be happy singing these songs.
That's awesome.
That's a beautiful goal to have. And so I got a question for you. Most of your songs, most of your albums feature a lot of your I don't know, for lack of a better word, what's a word for power prog pop? You write a lot of you write a lot of really cool songs, but then you've been with these other musicians that you play with, where, like you said, in your case, you're the front guy. You're the front guy for the other band. You're the front guy for Adrian Belew for the Bears. Do you ever think about going into those musical kind of soundscape things that you do with the other bands that hire you just to play guitar and create
like 9 Inch Nails or someone like that?
Well, personally, no, not 9 Inch, but I mean, you've never really done like what I would consider a Zappa / Bowie / Crimson kind of a record.
I suppose that's true because I'm not trying to be those guys.
I know, but those influences are in your head now. They're part of you, and you made those guys sound like you as opposed to the other way around, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, the truth is, Danny, to me, I do blend those things in little by little. They're in there. In fact, when I made my last record, Pop-Sided, Rob Fetters from the Bears, you mentioned the Bears, who is another band I loved being in. Rob called me.
You were great.
He said, "This is such a great record, Adrian, because I hear everything you've done throughout your career is in this record somewhere along the line. And I think I do kind of put that in there, but I'm also very, very careful to try to have my own thing. It's so easy for me to copy the Beatles or copy anybody for that matter. When I played on Paul Simon's Graceland record, I went home and wrote 2 songs that sound just like Graceland. I thought, no, you can't do that. You can't. You got to be pure. You got to be Adrian Belew and sort that stuff out. So, because that's what I think my fans really like about it. I know they love all the other stuff, and I've been very fortunate to know those people and have worked and learned from them and hopefully imparted something to them. But when it comes to my music, I try to keep it pure, and that's why I'm doing it myself.
And I appreciate that a lot. It's like something though where that fine line of juggling. I wasn't playing with anything. The fine line there of where you can go to the fans and go, I didn't do this because I was in this band. I already had this. Now it's mine. Now you got it.
Yeah.
You have a very unusual fan base, as you know.
Yeah.
It goes everywhere. It's all over the planet, and a lot of guys who have been in a lot of other bands or whatever, done solo work, the way that you've done 25 records. How many guys have done 25 albums? I mean, I want to look that up. Huh?
Maybe 25 guys.
Well, I'll tell you who it wasn't. It wasn't Inagata DeVita. It wasn't Iron Butterfly.
No.
It wasn't the Strawberry Alarm Clock.
Yeah.
I don't think the Straubs had 25 records.
Well, and the thing that is different, and we've already discussed this, is it's me. I'm for most of these, I do it all and design the artwork and everything to make it so personal. So I don't think there's many of those around. But It surprised me when I finally counted them up, because we put all the records up on Bandcamp finally. We're so behind the times. We finally put them up on Bandcamp, and I looked at all the covers and I counted them. And I didn't count the ones that are, what do you call the ones where you take this from this album and put them together?
Right. Compilations.
Yeah, compilations. King Crimson does a lot of that. Compilations. Well,
he owns,
but I do have a couple.
But like you, Robert owns all of his own music, right?
Well, he doesn't own the parts that I wrote.
Besides those, I mean, he owns the albums, right?
I believe he does. I was never once in King Crimson asked to sign a record deal. It was always said to me, just Robert signs. And I always thought that was a bit strange, because I thought, aren't we a band? But
you don't get a piece of those?
Oh yeah, I get my royalties, sure.
Right.
Yeah. Because that's a separate issue. That's publishing. That's not a record.
No, I was talking about the record.
I don't own the records. I don't have anything to do with DGM. They do all the business. They put out records without my knowledge or consent, and I'm fine with it, Yeah. As long as they're treating me fairly, I'm okay with that. It's fine. I think it's a good thing that they're carrying on the legend and doing it successfully. So I've got no problems with it. But yeah, most of my records I now own, because they've come back to me from the contracts being over, some of them, almost all of them, or they have never been anywhere else but been owned by me, especially all the things I've done in the last few years, like Flux and all that kind of stuff. So, Martha and I, my wife, her, she and I, we're a little bit of a business team here, and I do the creating and she does the business, and we try to keep it all in-house. It's hard because we need people to do things for us, and we can't always find the right person to do, tech stuff or something like that, put the tour together, whatever, But most of it falls to us. It's kind of, unusual.
Well, so how soon?
That's the world today, man. I mean,
Yeah. It's been our world for a long time. We started back in the 90s seeing this coming and saying, we're going to have our own studio. We're going to have based a lot on what I learned from Frank. One of the things that Frank taught me is, whatever you get out of the music business, put it back into your music. And one time, years later, I went to visit him in LA, and he had by then built a gorgeous studio. And I said, Frank, how did you get all this stuff? And he said, easy, I don't do coke.
He was,
awesome.
He was telling you the truth too.
Well, the truth is, I didn't either. That's what I needed to say. Well, what else did you not do? It's okay.
So, Adrian.
So, Tim, what do you do every day? Is this what you do? Podcast?
No, this is the side gig, the side partnership with Danny. Yeah. I bet I was a radio.
At all, is he?
He's not just a little.
Oh my God.
I was a radio guy for 30 years, and now I'm a media consultant, so I consult radio stations.
Did Danny tell you that one of my very first interviews of any meaning at all was him at his station in Scottsdale, I guess it was, Phoenix?
I had no idea.
I think it was KSTM.
Yeah. And I went there thinking, wow, this is interesting. I finally get to talk about stuff, you know. I knew it would be all about Frank Zappa because that's the only thing I'd done at that point. But Danny kept me there for hours. He had every question in the world. It was wonderful. I loved it.
He's a great interviewer.
Still love it. What a guy.
Here's something people always go, well, what does a concert promoter do? What do you got to do? Well, one day I booked Adrian to play at Dooley's, and they were headed there until their equipment truck broke down.
From California across the mountains.
Ooh.
And the truck broke down.
So show sold out. You can't buy a ticket. It's the hottest ticket in town. And I'm like so jazzed. He's coming. I love him. We're pals. He's coming for another show. And I get this phone call from, I don't know who it was. Somebody said, we can't play tonight. I said, are you still coming to Phoenix? They said, yeah, we're still coming. So I said, all right, well, come on over. Come to the club. Let's meet up there and see what happens. Still no equipment. They show up. And it was, remember, this is like 1981, 2, 3, in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
It was. Maybe 8, I don't know. It was early 80s. And we didn't have the internet. So I couldn't tweet Belew's truck broke down. Plus he's lying because it's really good. He just doesn't feel like playing. He's being a prima donna. Hey now, I'm kidding. This guy would never miss a gig. Ever.
True. Never have. Except that one.
So and this is when Ian Copeland was booking you.
That's right. Ian Copeland.
I remember it because some weeks later, or maybe you signed it that night or something. I don't remember, but I still have it in a frame. A copy of the contract signed by Adrian across the contract. And it says, Dear Danny, thanks for the gig tonight. The sound was translucent because it wasn't there.
Because there was no sound.
Love, Adrian.
Thank you.
Oh, God. So Tim, here's the kicker to that little story. So you weren't here when we had Dooley's, but Dooley's had a smaller room called the Lounge next door, of course, and it held less people. And there was a giant stairway that went up, and he stood about halfway up the stairway for about a half an hour. Everybody who was coming to the show came because we couldn't let him know on time that that he wasn't going to be able to play because he had no gear. I said, hey, Adrian, I'll rent you some gear. He goes, not my gear, you won't. So, think of the stuff that's, Anyway, he stood and took questions and answers for people for half hour, 45 minutes, and we hung out and drank. And
I would have stayed
that's
on.
classic.
I really enjoyed talking to the people a lot. And gear, you're right about my gear. It's always very, very high-tech, particular gear. And I can't really play some of this music without it because when I'm writing the music, some of it is written into the music. Oh, if you don't have this pedal, you can't make that part happen, But I really enjoyed talking to the audience. But I'm sorry to let you down on that one, Danny.
Well, look, I'll never forget. I'll never forget the good part of that, which was what you did. And I mean, how many people have something nasty like that happen to them and are even in the mood to talk to people, much less do it when you're losing a gig? So anyway, he liked it. The audience liked it. It made him even closer to them. And then he came back. So they basically got 2 shows, right?
Different shows.
Yeah. One show was spoken word. The other one was music.
Yeah.
How did is that where your friendship started between the two of you?
No, I know.
Ours started right way back with the interview I was talking about. One of my.
So what year was that?
Interviews. What year was that? It has to be really early on. I was maybe King. Was I in King Crimson then? I think I was.
Yeah, it was 70s.
So it might be 81.
Okay.
81 is my first year in King Crimson.
No, it was right around then. And and there was that other night, Adrian. We should collect all these in one concise space here like this. Then there was a night we were at the Rhythm Room over on Indian School Road, and he's in the middle of the show, and I'm sitting at the bar with a friend, and I go, God, I'm hungry. And there's a McDonald's across the street. So we went in the office, and I ordered a couple of 100 cheeseburgers, an order of fries, and a Diet Coke. And
Let me break in. I remember the room was so packed, people were standing on top of each other. It was not a great big room, but it was so many people there, and they were shouting and just having the greatest time. And I was on stage. We're almost at the encore point, and all of a sudden I have this giant whiff of McDonald's hamburgers. Like, on earth is that? And then I see them being tossed out in the wrappers. Here's McDonald's hamburgers. Everybody had one.
Adrian goes, folks, I'm hungry too. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. And he sat on the edge of stage and had hamburgers with everybody.
That's the best.
Yeah,
right?
I could fill down a hamburger from McDonald's and sing later.
And they came back and did another. Now, I'll tell you something. That place holds about 300 people. Since then, I know I've had at least 500 people tell me they were there.
Yeah.
That's one of those fish stories.
You did one of those stories that people never forget. You did one of those things. And I thought it was so funny and so beautiful. Yeah. And I was hungry. So thank you, Danny.
By the way, they were double cheeseburgers too. We didn't skip.
Oh, you didn't skip. Nice.
Yeah, I forgot that.
They were 99 cents.
99 cents.
How do you beat that?
$300. Who got the Diet Coke? I guess that was you, huh?
That was me. They were running a special. The regular hamburgers were $1.29. What was I supposed to do?
Yeah, you might as well get a double.
Let's go for it.
Right.
So was it a deal where you bought 200 double cheeseburgers and you got a free Diet Coke? Is that what the special was of the day?
They charged me double.
It was 300 though. Remember, 300.
Yeah.
But they did give me a large order of fries.
Oh, so nice of them. And that's why we love McDonald's. And the last time that I heard from you, you were here in my town, which I own, called Nashville, Kentucky. And you texted me and said, I'm in town. Let's get together. I got to go tonight to, they're inducting me into the White Castle Hall of Fame. Now, how did a guy who bought McDonald's burgers for everyone end up in the White Castle Hall of Fame? I want to know. I want to be there with you.
It's very easy. They didn't have a White
Castles.
They didn't have a White Castle in Phoenix.
Ah. Are you truly a White Castle fan?
Well, I'm a huge White Castle fan. Are you kidding? White Castle was the first fast food restaurant I went to in Chicago with my family because at the time you could get a dozen castles for $1.
Oh my gosh.
And come on, gas was 20 cents a gallon. Right?
That's an interesting thing, Danny, because you and I didn't know it, but we had that in common. My parents, we didn't have a lot of money, and they wouldn't go out to restaurants. We never went to a restaurant.
No way.
The White Castle. And that was a big deal to me. We're going tonight to White Castle, kids, get in the car. Woo! And I remember it so well. That was kind of special back then. I know it sounds crazy now.
Well, it's way different now, but we had 6 kids. My dad would go bowling on Thursday nights. And there is a
team.
There's in Chicago, right? And on the way home from the bowling alley, there was this McDonald's. Believe it or not, in 1968, I ended up getting a job there making shakes.
Wow!
I got fired for making them too heavy. It's another story. But my dad,
McDonald's story from my youth, but I don't know if it's worth telling.
My dad would have to drive past that White Castle, and he knew how much us kids would love it if he stopped. And so he'd have to buy 8 burgers, which would cost him all of about 95 cents. And most Thursday nights he would stop and we'd wait up for him. And if he didn't bring that in, we'd look at him and go, oh, yeah. He'd go, oh, you don't love me anymore? I didn't bring the castles? You're close. You got it right. He had them the next week. You can bet on that. But that was our introduction to fast food. We didn't, like you said, we didn't get to go to restaurants ever.
No, my family never went. I didn't have steak until I was in my 20s. I never had.
No kidding.
Hey, I never had real red. You're gonna love this one because you know this place. I never had real red wine till I moved out here and I went to Avanti.
Yeah.
Remember the restaurant I take you to?
Yeah. That you didn't have it till you moved out there.
No, I mean I was 20.
Wow.
And my mom's idea of wine was Mogan David.
Yeah.
Right?
MD 2020.
Grape syrup.
I've never
So
been
before we get too far down the road, Adrian, I want to hear your McDonald's story from growing up.
Oh, you do?
I do, right, absolutely.
Well, I was in my band, the Denims, my first teen band. And my father, I was playing drums, and my father would actually take my drums to the gigs for me and then drive me home. And
what a great
we
dad.
would stop at McDonald's. And the bass player was with me one night. And back then, it was kind of wintertime. And back then, McDonald's would put out a glass sort of atrium kind of thing around the building. And we went in to get our McDonald's, and me and Mike were standing there. And they're just big pieces of plate glass, great big pieces. And we were standing in line, and Mike just went like this with his foot and leaned back and went right through this panel of glass, and then we got in big trouble for that. His father and my father had to pay for that. So, strangely enough, next week, the same thing happened. And Mike went, we heard it. He must have just cracked it. And I said, let's go. I'm not hungry. We just left.
He did the same thing twice?
He did the same thing. He had his Beatle boots on, and he's, just kind of leaning back against the plate glass went all the way to the concrete floor. And and that's it. And I said, I'm not going to do that again. My dad was not happy about it.
Do you still have Beatle boots?
I can't find the kind that I liked.
Guess what? What size are you?
8.
I have them.
What?
I have them. Real ones.
Real ones.
But they're 10.5.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I would give them to you in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I'd love to find those again. I really would.
Just put big socks on. Give them the shoes.
You think?
Yeah. No, don't send me shoes I can't wear. I already have plenty of shoes.
Yeah, because these are the kind you don't want to throw out. They're too cool.
Yeah, I remember they were very cool. And we always went down to Covington to a place that would build the heels up about this much.
Well, which we need.
And so we really thought we were the Beatles and we were real cool.
What about those Beatles?
I love them so much.
Did you ever play with Ringo?
No, I never did.
God, would you be great in his band? You would be so much fun.
Well, the reason I think I did, I don't know if I didn't, is I don't know if he knows who I am, but I know the rule because Todd told me Well, you have to have a couple of hit records. That's what you play in the show. You play your hits. I don't have any hit records. I almost had a hit with my 10-year-old daughter. I sure as heck am not going to try to play that song because where do you get a 10-year-old girl every night?
Yeah, Adrian, I think I would go out there with Heartbeat, Three of a Perfect Pair, and Discipline.
Well, Ringo, if you're out there, buddy, I love you so much. You were very important to my whole life. I would do a good job for you if you want me to tag along for one of these.
Well,
I'd be happy to do it.
I'm going to clip that part out and send him a video audition.
I hope I passed the audition.
I hope you pass the audition.
True, I would love to play with him or Paul. But I mean, it's presumptuous to say anything about playing with those guys because they're in a whole other world, a different league than any of us, no matter how good you are. What they did cannot be overdone. It can't be outdone.
It's amazing to me how one of them or a song or something nearly every day comes up.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that weird?
They're so much a part of our lives, those guys who came through that period especially, that is so ingrained. It's part of our language, everyday language. You always refer to things. Something will happen and you'll do a little quote from the song or do whatever, It's there all the time. And it's a huge blessing, if I could use that word.
Yeah.
That the earth itself got that to happen because it's truly magical. And it brought everybody together. And I wish there was someone like that to bring everybody together again.
Well,
Amen.
I think it's you.
Me?
Yeah.
I'll take the job if they offer it. I don't want any pay. I just want maybe Saturday night off. No, never mind.
Yeah. Well,
no, I'm just kidding.
This is kind of like that Jim Carrey movie where he got to be God. All I got to do is get Morgan Freeman on the phone. Adrian, you are now God.
Fuck you.
Fuck you, Adrian.
I think I'll go hide behind a cloud for a while. You guys do your best. No rain. I'll tell the boys.
Oh, it's brilliant. Tim, what else you got?
My God song. I love this God song. I wrote a God song. It's on the Mr. Music Head album.
Oh, yeah.
It's called One of Those Days, and it's saying, I guess, God said, it's time to let the people have salad days. So he tells his boys to shut off the rain. He's going to go sleep behind a cloud. Later on, he comes back, and everybody's having a picnic, and he's all happy. And he says, I guess it all worked out, basically. So that was the song. The add-on to that is when I played on the record with Crash Test Dummies, they told me that the song God Shuffled His Feet was written with my song in mind. The same.
No kidding.
Brad.
That's insane.
Yeah. He was shy. He didn't want to tell me, but I was honored by it. Anyone wants to come.
That's awesome.
That's an honor, I guess.
So Adrian, I have a question.
Okay.
As arguably one of the best guitar players, in the last 50 years, and I'm a guitar hack, but I just want to know. So there's a 10,000 hour theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you practice 10,000 hours. There's the theory that you're born with it and it's just a gift, or is it somewhere in between? What are your thoughts on that for any aspiring musician who checks us out in this conversation?
Well, I wasn't born with a guitar or the ability to play guitar, but I definitely was born with some musical ability. When I was a little kid, I could sing along with Everly Brothers records, and I could sing the Strange Harmony. No one else could sing.
No kidding.
What is that guy singing? Well, I could figure that out. So I had something musical going on. It didn't come from anyone else in my family history that I know of. As far as taking it to, as I started as a drummer and trying to follow in the steps of my good dear friend Ringo, after I taught myself to play guitar, it simply became so important to me, such an obsession, I couldn't stop playing it. I would run home from school literally and sit in the basement and play guitar. And I couldn't wait to play guitar when I woke up the next morning if I had time before school. So
It shows.
yeah, the 10,000 hour theory went out the window by the time I was a graduate of high school.
So you had already done your 10,000 hours.
I think I'd already put my 10,000 in by then.
That's amazing.
But I do agree with that theory. And I even the other day heard who it was who has that theory. I can't remember their name now, unfortunately. I do agree with that theory that you have to be great at something, you have to devote that much time and effort to it. Now, maybe it's not true in every field of the world, but I think especially for something like music, where you have to develop the ability to do it and the ear to hear it and the mind to, there's a lot of things developing there. So yeah, it takes a long time to get there.
So for somebody growing up today, from a technological standpoint, and in your lifetime as a musician, you've watched, you go from guitar amp to now all of these modelers and all of this technology that's available. Is it better now than it was, or is it harder now to find something that you're good at because there's just too many options?
There are too many options. You have to. I think what it is, it's kind of like you were just saying earlier, Danny, about the music business itself. It's much more of a do-it-yourself thing. You have to put in the hours now. In fact, you have to put in the hours to figure out what gear is the gear you want. But here's the good news. You have the internet now. We didn't have that. You can go online. You can hear what every pedal does. You can check out any guitar or any drum kit or anything. But you have to take the time to do that. And my advice to anyone doing that is don't go too far. Just a couple of things at once is enough. And you build on that. I've come to points in my life where I've had too much stuff and I've just said, that's it, I'm starting over. I can't, because at that point it gets in your head and you can't think about what it is you're supposed to be thinking about, which is music. The creation of music or the performance of music gets lost in that world you're looking at on your feet, all those things down there. I've tried to simplify it more and more over my lifetime. And I think when it was just an amp and a guitar, it was different. You had great musicians then. You had bands like the Beatles, and you had the Ventures and great players like that. But what you can do now is absolutely amazing. It really, truly is. I can do things with guitar now that I just couldn't imagine, and I don't know that anyone else can do them because I figured them out myself. And that's what I do. And so sometimes I say, well, I could play anybody else's solo, but I dare them to start to play mine.
Amen. By the way, wow. And without your mind,
notes, by the way, anybody could.
Oh, it's the notes too.
Maybe it's
definitely it's definitely the notes
That's
too.
why I really love people like Jeff Beck who just take a guitar and play it through an amp and bring all the beauty out of it. That's pure guitar playing. That's not what I am. I'm a creative force in guitar world. I like trying to make it do things it's not really supposed to do. So I'm not about, fast picking or, any of that stuff much. I've tried a lot of it. You have to learn those things in order to be well-rounded. But that's not my strong point. So when people say who's the best guitar player, I almost cringe because I think I'm not a guitar player. Wait a minute here. I write songs and I sing like a bird, I hope, sometimes like a crow, I guess, but and produce my own records and I do my own. Don't put me in that category. I play all the instruments on that record. So it's not fair to compare me with a guy who does nothing but play guitar. And so, I'm happy that I've climbed the ladder as far as I have.
Well, I know a whole lot of guitar players that would love to be able to sing like you as well.
That's another
because a lot of guitar players cannot carry a tune.
Well, that's the thing.
It's weird.
That separates a lot of people too. I mean, most guitar players are, as I call it, pure guitar players. That's what they're doing. They're only concentrating on playing the guitar. But I'm concentrating on playing three of a perfect pair with one hand and singing in a different time signature with my voice.
Crazy.
So I should get an extra point for that.
You get lots of points for
You
that.
should. And
You get.
you've got a lot of points for that one, dude. All over.
You
No
guys are so
question.
sweet. I'm glad I decided to do this because I've shied away from this because I'm not tech savvy, believe it or not, even though I've just talked about all the expensive and interesting gear. I approach it from an artist point, and most of the time people have to show me how to do this. To do this today, my daughter had to show me how.
No
And that's
kidding.
the thing about technology. You want technology done right, go get a kid.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
It's so easy a kid can do it. And I always say, go get a kid.
The thing is all you got to do is click on a link, and here we are.
It wasn't as
Magic.
bad as I thought, and now I feel good. So this is a good experience for me.
Well, I'm glad we did this then.
Me too.
Yeah, thank you.
You guys have anything else? Any
I'm overjoyed that we got to spend over an hour together. I mean, this is wonderful.
Yeah, I love talking. You know me.
You know,
I like
we-
talking about all this stuff. I mean, I could talk for days about all the things in music that have meant so much to me and all the history that I've come through, other people's history, all the records, all that stuff. It's all been so important. It's been my life. That's what I do. So
Well, we're
Thanks for
grateful.
having me
We're
on.
grateful for what you've created, and again for this time today. It really is an honor.
okay, now watch for Elevator.
Yes.
For the
When is it
Elevator.
coming out?
Soon.
When is it coming out?
Well, I think I can put it out within the next month.
Okay.
Period of time.
really?
It's going slow because of COVID-related things, but all the parts are there, and I guess we'll just put it out ourselves. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a record label to do it for us.
Probably not. But you
Probably
know-
not. It's okay.
You don't need it.
Yeah,
You don't need it.
we do fine without it, but we don't. What we don't get from that having a record label is we don't get the kind of promotion that we should. We have to kind of
Nobody does.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's why you have Facebook, and my fans are on there, and I know they're waiting for the record. And I'm telling you, it's one of my very favorite records that I've done. I'm just saying that.
I'm really glad to hear that. But one other thing I wanted to throw at you about this, because your fans are the way they are. I believe that you should put together a nice little set of those pictures that you've been working on, and turn them into some nice lithos that are available as a set or individually, and share those with people. They would love to have
I'm
those.
working with a company right now. Are you
Good.
still there?
Yeah.
I've actually started working with a company called Intaglio, and I'm hoping that we can pull that together and start selling my real paintings, the ones I did on canvas, and my digital paintings pretty soon. That we're working on it already. I've actually looked at proofs already, so I'm a little bit into
Great.
this already. And the other thing I really want to investigate is this whole NFT phenomenon, which, I don't know enough about that, but I'm curious about it. I think it could have some good points because I do believe that the blockchain aspect of it is a very good thing. And I won't try to explain it because I'm too stupid to do that.
Well, you're already talking over my head, so
It's a coming phenomenon.
Is there,
okay.
Have you put up any of your paintings anywhere? Can anybody look at them anywhere? Are they online?
I've put a few up on my Facebook page just occasionally, just for fun. There will be 5 new ones in the record, and if you want to go back and look at some of them, side 1, 2, 3, and 4, all those paintings that are in those 4 records are my normal paintings that I did with a brush and a palette knife. So you can see them there. Anyway, there you go.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Adrian Belew, Tim Richards, Danny Z.
What's that?
That's all I got.
Okay, that's it.
I was just doing our closer.
Adrian, we appreciate you.
Adrian,
thank you.
For the fans, they know where to find you, but you guys got your Facebooks and your websites and all that. They know where to find you, right?
I hope so. Yeah.
I hope.
We got a lot of them following right now, and I love them all. I like to reach out to them.
I had one final question. I've been getting pitched over the last year or so, you going out and doing a Bowie show of some sort, a live cover show of Bowie stuff. Is that true?
Well, I've already done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've talked about it coming back again next year or later this year or something.
Possibly, yeah. It's produced by Angelo Bundini and Gary Oldman, the actor. And it's called Celebrating David Bowie. And we already have done shows around the world, but we haven't done the United States much. So I'm hoping that will happen too. One of the things, and I wanted to tell you this because you'll like this story. I actually called Robert Tripp and asked him if he would be interested in celebrating the 40-year birthday of the 91 King Crimson Band, that quartet. And I told him, if you'd like to do that, I'll do it any way you want to do. I don't care really. I hope that certain people would be in the band to make it correct. But, other than that, I'm your guy. And he said that he already had 3 years worked out of everything he was doing. It's already worked out for 3 years. He's got 3 years worth of stuff already booked. So that was that. And he said, but if you want to drive that vehicle, go right ahead. So I called Steve Vai. And I said, Steve Vai, I think you could be the guy that could be the Robert of the band, not replace him, but and who would you think the drummer would be? And he said, well, I think we should get Benny Caliuto. And it was starting to sound like one hell of a world-class band to me, and COVID hit.
So are you going to circle back on that after the pandemic winds down? No,
because Steve Vai already has a year and a half of commitments too that don't start until whenever we can do it. So the whole thing got flushed away. But I'm very, very proud of what we did in that 91 to 84 band. I wish there was a way to celebrate it other than that. But without the right people, I can't do it. And so I'm going to go back to I'm doing Turquoise with Jerry Harrison and myself, doing Remain in Light at I don't know how many festivals we're booking, but there'll be at least 8 or 9 or 10 of them, I guess. And after that, I'll go back to being Adrian Belew, playing Adrian Belew music. I like that part.
Yeah, and we'll all be right here waiting for you.
All right. Love you, Danny. See you soon.
Love you back, Adrian. Thank you for joining us today. It's been a total gas game.
Bye-bye. All Access with Danny Zelisko and Tim Richards.